Good morning and welcome to my December vlog. Now, as you can probably hear, my voice is a little bit low. It's a little bit Theophilus P. Wildebeest. It's a little bit Barry White. And that's because I've had a bit of a cold. In fact, I've had a cold for about 2 weeks. And unfortunately, Mr. Des has COVID. Although he's not that bad with it, thank goodness. He doesn't have a temperature or anything. So both of us have been a bit under the weather, and that's partly why it's taken us so long to put up our Christmas decorations, which we finally finished off yesterday. And you can see some of them here, and I'll put some footage in of the other rooms that you can see as well. But at least we've finally done it. And today, one of the things I'm going to do is take you on a little mini Christmas shopping trip to Covent Garden. I thought it would be fun to show you what Covent Garden looks like at Christmas. I won't be able to show you the lights lit up because we're going in the morning. I don't like going very late on in the afternoon because it gets so crowded. But I think it'll be a fun trip and I hope you'll enjoy it. So, what has been going on in my life since we last spoke, which was in November? Well, those of you who know my channel will know that I have been to a wedding, and I've been banging on about this wedding since time immemorial, probably since about, I don't know, late summer or something. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't all that well at the wedding. At least I had this cold, so I wasn't able to kind of stay the course as late as I would have liked. However, we did have a good time, and we met up with some of Ian's relatives who we're very fond of and we spend quite a lot of time with anyway, so that was really nice. They actually live up in Newcastle, but we were able to spend some really nice time with them. And where we were was absolutely beautiful. It was in Derbyshire, which is quite a long way from London. It's probably about 250 miles, I would say, from London, which may not sound a lot for those of you who don't live in the UK, but honestly, that's quite a long distance for us, and it's a good 3.5 hour trip in the car. But it is a very beautiful area. The weather was awful. It's not actually that cold, but it was certainly wet, but very, very beautiful. And the venue was really lovely as well. It's a hotel. I think it's certainly a listed building, so it's quite old. And we had a really nice room. The food was pretty good, particularly the dinner on the Friday night was really good. The wedding was on the Saturday. And the staff were amazingly friendly. In fact, my husband left behind his shirts and suits in the wardrobe. So I had to ring them up on the way home and ask them to send them. And honestly, they sent them within a couple of days. They were really good. So really enjoyed the venue and the wedding. Now, I have to tell you that after all the discussion we've had about what I was going to wear and what I was going to wear it with, and makeup and hair and all that kind of stuff, in the end I pulled the plug on the dress. I just didn't feel right. I kept putting it on and thinking, I don't know, is this too dressy? And I didn't really know how many people were going to be at the wedding and what sort of garb they were going to be wearing. So in the end, I just felt that the dress might be too dressy. So at the very last minute, like literally, I think it was on the Monday in the wedding, well, we were leaving for the wedding on the Friday, I ordered a top, and I'm going to put it in the footage, this beautiful blue, I don't know what colour blue you'd call that, maybe a teal or something, blue silk top, well, silk satin, I guess, top, which I thought I was going to wear with the black trousers. Yes, I know it was black. I probably overdid the worry about black. I mean, of course, you don't want to wear all black because that can look quite funereal. But anyway, that's what I wore. I wore the top with the black trousers, and I kept the shawl that I'd bought, which was a kind of a different shade of blue, but I still think it looked all right. And I felt really comfortable in it, and that was the main thing. I've got to feel comfortable, haven't I? I've got to feel right. And it went beautifully with the shoes. So actually everything worked out really well. And you'll be pleased to know, those of you who mentioned that I ought to keep the skirt that I featured in a recent video, which I'll link down below for you, I did keep it, and I wore it on the Friday with a black polo neck and a belt. So that all went really well. So actually all the items that I took from my wardrobe, the new and the old, worked really well together. And in terms of the makeup, now I've done a video recently, for those of you who haven't seen it, about wedding makeup. So I did that a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to see how it lasted. Now, I didn't stick to the eye makeup that I did in that video, but I did stick to the complexion makeup, and it did last. And again, I'll put some footage of that so you can see, but I was really pleased that using particularly the face primer, the eye primer not so much, but I'm not sure I applied it as well as I could have. Because I'll tell you something, I don't know whether you've noticed this and whether you've got any tips about how to overcome this. Why are hotel rooms so badly lit? It's so difficult to see what you're doing, and there's never enough space to put stuff out, is there, makeup and that kind of thing. But anyway, I don't think I applied my eye primer quite as well as I should have done. But the face primer worked a treat, and honestly, I was so pleased with how the makeup lasted on my complexion. I think it really did the bizzo. So I think it does prove that if you want long-lasting makeup and you layer it, which is what I did in that video, so primer, cream products, powder products and setting spray along the way, it really did have staying power, the complexion makeup, and I was really delighted with that. So that's the wedding update. Oh, do you know, I must take these glasses off. I love them, but they are very, very heavy. That is the only trouble. I don't know whether you find that. Sandra Salin, my lovely friend on YouTube, who has the channel, I've forgotten the name of the channel, it probably is Sandra Salin. I'll put her details down below if you haven't come across her. So she wears fantastic glasses. I've forgotten the name of the company. She did tell me what the name of the company was. They're beautiful. And I haven't actually asked her. And Sandra, if you're watching, how do you cope with the weight of the glasses on your nose? Maybe I've just got a weedy nose. I don't know. I mean, these aren't that heavy and they are beautiful. They're from a company called Cubits, which actually is in Covent Garden amongst other places. And I love them, but they are super heavy. Anyway, I've now taken them off, and that's partly because I want to show you my eye. Now, I'm going to come close. And those of you who haven't seen my channel before, I have had an eye operation, and it was on October the 24th, so not quite 2 months ago. And I had a condition called entropion, which meant that this bottom rim of my left eye was turning inwards, and so I've had that corrected, but I've still got 3 stitches which haven't yet dissolved. So I've got one in the middle here. Let me come close again. So one in the middle here, one slightly to the left of that, and then one kind of on the edge here, or a few little tiny ones there. Now it's so much better, and the gunk, such as it is, isn't quite settling in there anymore, but they still are hanging around, which is a bit of a bore, but we're dealing with it, and at least I can go back to wearing eye makeup now, which is great. And of course the condition hasn't come back, but I do have to be quite gentle with this area, obviously no pulling or rubbing, so I have to be a bit careful about eye makeup, and I haven't been wearing it every single day. But it is a great improvement. I'm really looking forward to the stitches finally dissolving. Apparently they can take up to 10 weeks, so I'm hoping they're going to dissolve just before we go away to the Caribbean. We're going away in mid-January for a couple of weeks, and we are going to St Lucia and Beckway in the Grenadines. And oh my gosh, I am so looking forward to it. I haven't been to the Caribbean, did I go? 1995 with my kids actually, so very, very, very long time ago, and really looking forward to that. And so I will be looking for, I think, a tankini is what I fancy. So I've got swimsuits and bikinis, and actually they're perfectly fine because they don't get a lot of use, to be honest. But I do fancy getting something new as well, so I think I will do that. And I fancy a tankini. I think maybe a bikini is probably a bit of a step too far now, but a tankini might do the bizzo. So I'll be looking for one of those. And what else do I need? That's probably about it. I just need to fish out all my stuff, make sure I've got goggles for swimming. I bought myself a new suitcase, so that's all good. I bought some packing cubes. Oh yeah, and I need to buy a few toiletries. Obviously I'm going to need some new SPF, because although I do have some SPF, it's probably a bit out of date now. And just check that I've got all the bits and bobs that I need. Oh, and some plugs, although I am going to be very minimal in my packing. I am going to try not to take too many hair accoutrements, as it were, because I want to go natural. I'll probably leave my hair to dry naturally. That's something else I wanted to talk to you about. I was looking back at last year's videos. It was kind of like a review of the year. And that was when I had the balayage colour on my hair. And you know, I rather liked it because it was that sort of quite pale, wasn't exactly blonde, but sort of, what would you call it, tawny colour maybe, on part of my hair. And I really like the balayage method. It's not as obvious as having highlights. It's a bit more freehand, as it were. So what I'm thinking of doing is, when we're in Covent Garden, I might pop into a hairdresser's, and I think it's called Percy Reed or Adam Reed or something Reed anyway. And one of the beauty journalists, I think it might be Emma Guns, or it might be Nadine Baggett, I'm not sure. But anyway, one or more of them have mentioned this hairdressers, and I happen to notice when I was Googling hairdressers in Covent Garden that it was there. So I think we're going to try and pop in there and find out how much it would cost and whether I'm even likely to get an appointment over Christmas. Probably not. And I probably need a trim as well. I haven't actually had a hair trim since April, which is not very good really. It's so kind of fine and kind of wispy at the end really. It could really do with a trim. So that's what we're going to do in Covent Garden, and we're also going to go to Uniqlo. I definitely want to go to Uniqlo. They've got a little sale on. It's not very much, but they've got something like a 10% discount on some of their men's cashmere jumpers, of which I am a massive fan. I have 2 of their jumpers now. I've got a brown crew neck, which I featured in some videos recently, but I've also now got a grey turtle or polo neck, which I absolutely love, and they're so soft. Their cashmere is really good quality, and I honestly think the men's cashmere is the best. I really do. So I thought I'd have a look in there. Now, the other things that are happening this weekend, or the other main thing that's happening, is I'm taking my grandson to see A Christmas Carol, which is on at Alexandra Palace Theatre, which I've never been to. Alexandra Palace is, in my view, and forgive me if you're local and you love it, a hideous 1850s or thereabouts building on the top of a hill near where I live in North London. I think it's a really ugly building, but I know some people love it. It was restored about 20-30 years ago after a terrible fire. And actually, I think my mother broadcast from there because it used to be a TV station in the very early days of television in the UK. Anyway, they have a theatre there, and that's where A Christmas Carol is showing, and it's starring Keith Allen, father of the more famous now Lily Allen. So really looking forward to seeing that. It's produced or directed, I think, by Mark Gatiss, who's a wonderful actor I've seen on stage quite recently in The Motive and the Cue, which was a play about Richard Burton and John Gielgud, both of whom my mum knew. So really looking forward to seeing his production of A Christmas Carol with my grandson, who's 9.5, by the way. So we're doing that on Sunday. Tomorrow I've got some videos to film, and I've got to start building up a bank of videos for when I go away, because I don't want to not have any videos going out while I'm away. So I need to record a couple of those. Oh yes, and just to tell you what exactly is going on over Christmas. So I'm working between Christmas and New Year. On Christmas Day my family's coming, and hopefully some friends in the evening. On the 23rd, we are going out, so just my husband and I are going to the new Jamie Oliver restaurant, which I think is also in Covent Garden, actually. I think it's in Drury Lane. So really looking forward to that. I think it's quite a low-key opening. I think it's only been open a couple of months, and I've never really eaten I have eaten in a Jamie Oliver restaurant, but it was one of those chains. What was it called? Jamie's Italian, I think. So in fact, we ate in a Jamie's Italian in St. Petersburg a few years ago, which was quite funny. In fact, it was really good, really good. Loved St. Petersburg, actually, really beautiful city. Anyway, I'll let you know how I get on. That's just before Christmas. And what other news? I think that's it, really. And of course, it's the Strictly Come Dancing final tomorrow night. So really looking forward to watching that. Can't imagine why they haven't asked me to be on it yet, but hopefully next year. So that's how my day, weekend and month is going to pan out. Now let me go and get ready for the day and take you down into Covent Garden. My skin's behaving really weirdly at the moment. I don't know what's the matter with it. It looks fine at the moment, but as soon as I put makeup on, it goes sort of a bit cakey. So I think we're going to use the Nars just because it's a good, reliable old foundation. Well, not that old. I think we'll use the Nars. And we will use our trusty BK Beauty 101. But yeah, when I tried to put some concealer on this morning under my eyes, it went really cakey. It looked absolutely awful. You know, I don't own one of those mirrors that lights up, you know, the ones that plug in. And I've been tempted, but honestly, they're so expensive. So I tend to use a very bright light, which you're kind of seeing at the moment, which I focus on my mirror or behind my mirror so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, well, there's definitely no cakiness under the eyes at the moment. So I think we're going to have to be very careful with our concealer. I think we're going to have to use a high end. I was going to use the IRL, the Revolution. But I think we will go with the, where is it? I've got two high ends. I've got the the Makeup Forever and the Hourglass. I think we use the Hourglass Mini because it's nearly come to the end of its life. Oh, I think I got it last year. It was one of the Andrea Ali recommendations. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Sorry, I know the lighting's rubbish here, but I'm just going to have to manage at the moment. It's very dark. Well, it's not very dark, but it's quite dark outside. It's coming up to 9 o'clock, and I want to leave by 9:15 because I want to get down to Covent Garden at 10. Do you know what? I think for eyebrows, we're just going to use the Huda Beauty Bombrows because I don't really want to put too much of a colour on. I seem to be choosing the wrong shades all the time. One of my lovely subscribers recommended that I get the grey Bobbi Brown, but when I looked online I couldn't see a grey. I saw a blonde which actually looked grey, so maybe that's the one she means. Anyway, having my brows laminated definitely has made a difference because they're easier to kind of shape into a nice shape. I think we're going to use the Bobbi Brown Longwear Cream Shadow Stick just because it's quick, and then I can put some mascara over the top. Oh yeah, look how nice and dark that is, like that. And then we will put some mascara on. Yeah, let's go with the Maybelline Sky High, one of my all-time faves. But you must remember to put a watch on because I'm not bothering with my Fitbit anymore. I've given that up. I can now go back to wearing a watch. In fact, I could do with a watch for Christmas, really, another one. I've got a few, but one of them, which is absolutely beautiful, which belonged to my grandfather, keeps going wrong. I mean, it's a super expensive vintage Swiss watch, but to send it away to Vacheron Constantin, who are the makers in Switzerland, would cost about $2,000 or something. I thought, well, that's just ridiculous. I'm not spending that. So I could wear it just for decorative purposes, I suppose. All right, let's get a bit of blusher and a bit of lippy on, and then we're good to go. I'm going to put this on with my finger. This is Lisa Eldridge Sunday Matinee. That's very nice, isn't it? It's a little bit Velvet Beauty-ish. In my last vlog, I bought Painterly, didn't I? The Luxuriously Lucent. And I've hardly worn the blooming thing since I bought it. So let's see if we can find it. And we'll try it over the top. No, that's Velvet Pompadour. Gosh, I love that name. That's not Beauty. Velvet Muse, which I've nearly run out of. Ah, Painterly, there we go. Right, let's try this over the top. It sort of subdues it a bit, makes it more autumnal, I would say. Right, let's get cracking. Come on, Des, get your skates on. It's quite, I don't know if the word is dreich, which is a Scottish word. It's kind of damp and dreary, I suppose, but not wet, which is good. And I had to put an undergarment on. I was going to just put the jumper on and nothing underneath except a bra, but it's definitely got a chill in the air, although it's always much warmer in town than it is up in the frozen North London. So I don't like to be too hot, but at least with an undergarment you can take it off. We'll be hopping on the tube very shortly and speeding into town and get off at Leicester Square. Well, very interesting chat in the hairdressers, Percy and Reed, or Percy Reed. I don't know if it's Percy and Reed or Percy Reed. Probably going to cost me an arm and a leg. They're going to email me with the cost, but I'm going to have what they call a creative colour if I decide to go ahead, but we'll see. And if I do, it'll be next Saturday, the 23rd. Anyway, we'll see. And really enjoyed going in there. It's quite a quirky salon. I didn't want to film in there because it looks a bit intrusive, although they do ask for your Instagram handle. I have just picked up a card from Tom Ford with is it called again? Lost Cherry on it. Oh my goodness, it's absolutely beautiful. Even with my cold, I can still smell how beautiful it is. And this was recommended by Risa. Risa does makeup. One of her 3 recent recommendations. I'm going to try and find the other 2 as well. One's a YSL and one is Jimmy Choo. That's it. And there's a big Boots up the road opposite Covent Garden Tube. So I think I might pop up there shortly. But now I need to concentrate on a couple of Christmas presents. So I'll see you in a bit. Apart from the Christmas presents, I did actually pop into Arket, tried on this dress, popped into Uniqlo, tried on these jumpers and did actually buy one. And then I had to have a quick pit stop at Arket's cafe where I had a delicious apple pastry and a cup of coffee, and then wended my way home. Sunday the 17th of December. Can't quite believe it's that late on in the month, but it is. And I'm just having, well, my reheated coffee. Actually, I'm afraid I do reheat it in the microwave, but I can't be bothered to make another one, to be honest. I made my first one about 6 o'clock. So yeah, so just heating this up, and I'm already made up and dressed and showered and all of that because my grandson is coming at 12. And we are going to the theatre to see A Christmas Carol. I think I mentioned that yesterday, with Keith Allen playing Scrooge, and he is the father of Lily Allen. Now, he was famous, or not famous, but he was well known as an actor in the UK before Lily Allen came on the scene. And I'm trying to remember what I've seen him in. He's been on telly recently in some dramas and things, but the first time I ever saw him, I think, was in a film called, of course, I can't remember the name of it now. Shallow Grave, that was it. Shallow Grave with Ewan McGregor. First time I'd seen Ewan McGregor and Keith Allen, and I've forgotten who the other 2 guys were, or the one woman, Kerry something or other. Anyway, very good film if you haven't seen it. I think it's from the early 90s. And so really looking forward to seeing that. And it's at Alexandra Palace Theatre, which is not that far from here. It's about 10 minutes. So, and then I shall see you later for a wrap up. But there are a couple of things I wanted to mention to you. And one of them is that about, when did I finish it now? About a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit longer, I wrote a novel. I mean, I've been writing the novel since 2016, I think was when I first came up with the idea. And I've been writing it ever since. It took me about 3.5 years to write the blooming thing. And it's nearly 300 pages long, not quite, about 270, so it's a decent length, I think. And it's not exactly a detective novel, but it is a story about a private detective. And I wrote this and obviously hoped that publishers would be interested in it, or at least agents would be. So I sent it off to various agents. I've probably sent it to about 20 agents maybe over the last couple of years, and sadly none of them have picked it up. So that's been a bit of a disappointment. I have used a couple of kind of, what would you call them, not novel doctors exactly, but people who will help you with your manuscript. And the first one I used wanted me to change it quite radically, or suggested I change it quite radically, which I didn't want to do because it just didn't feel right to me. And the second one was fantastic. She's an author, what's her name? Gosh, I've forgotten her name. I hopefully remember it before the end of this recording. If I don't, I'll put her down below for you, because she writes novels. She's a very successful novelist, and actually she writes quite a lot of novels under the name of Agatha Christie, with Agatha Christie's estate's permission. She writes some Poirot novels, and she writes her own detective novels as well. As I say, she's very successful. And she was helpful in my pitch in particular, and also picking a few holes, or pointing out possibly some holes in the plot, although she hadn't read the whole novel, to be fair, so she didn't know everything. Sophie, that's it, Sophie Hannah, that's her name. She was absolutely delightful and really, really lovely and helpful. But did I make any changes? Not really. I maybe slightly did, but the thing is, now I've written the blooming thing, I just don't really feel like revisiting it. And I know you're supposed to. I mean, obviously I did rewrite it because I actually did a course. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. When I was writing it, while I was still writing it, I did a course by Curtis Brown, who are agents, very, very big agents in the UK, literary agents. And that was helpful. So I did rewrite it. But in the end, I just thought, well, I've written it now. I just want it to, you know, float off and for people to read it. Now, I sent it to a couple of friends who were very, well, one of them was very helpful. The other one didn't comment on it at all, actually. Not in writing. And she said she would in person, but she never did. Maybe it was too difficult. I mean, I think it's really hard to comment on your friend's work, isn't it? I think it's easier if they're artists in the sort of painting or object sense. I think that's because it's more immediate, isn't it? But with a novel, I think, or a play or something written, even a poem, maybe a poem's easier, I don't know. It can be quite difficult because if it's not your bag or your cup of tea or you think it's awful, you're not going to say that, are you? Well, probably not. Anyway, this rambling really is to ask you a question. Now, I haven't published this book at all, and I haven't self-published it, and I haven't even put it into a kind of book format. It's literally just a PDF. But I just wondered whether any of you watching this would be at all interested in reading it, and whether you would give me a critique, whether you would say you think it's any good or not, because if a load of you said it was rubbish, then I think I get the message. But if a few of you, I should say a load of you, if a few of you said it was rubbish, then I'd probably junk it or leave it. But if a few of you said you liked it and you thought it had potential or you thought it was good, then I might think about self-publishing it, because there is a company here. I mean, it costs about £6,000, I think, but they publish it for you, and they actually put it in bookshops, which I didn't realise. They don't just put it on Amazon, they actually do sell it in bookshops, or at least give it to bookshops to sell. So I thought that might be interesting to do at some point when I've saved up the money to do that. So let me know, leave me a comment and tell me whether you would like me to send you the PDF for nothing, completely for nothing. It's just a PDF. And I would love to hear from you if you would like to read it, because I think that would be really interesting for me and hopefully interesting and enjoyable for you. So that's something I wanted to mention. And just quickly as well to say that I did write a book last year, and some of you very kindly bought it as well, which was a diet book, which I'm thinking of revising anyway. Didn't do terribly well, but like I say, a few of you very, very kindly bought it, and you were so sweet to do that. And I think it was worth it. I think it was a good book. I don't think about rewriting it because it wasn't well written. I just think that my attitude to dieting and food and what I eat has slightly changed since I wrote that. So I might revise it and revise it in line with my thinking now. So that's that. But I never put that on Amazon, but I did actually self-publish a few years ago an event book when I was trying to be an event organizer. Honestly, what a mess I made of that. Never mind. I did actually write a book, which I thought was quite good in terms of a guide to organising certain types of events. It's a very slim volume, as they say, and the graphics are pretty awful actually, and it's not beautiful to buy, it's not beautiful to look at, and I published it under my own actual name. But it did give me an experience in self-publishing, so I do understand a little bit about how to publish on Amazon. It's quite a hoo-ha actually, it's a bit of a pain. But somebody did help me to put it in the right format, but it was quite fiddly. And I don't really want to get involved in that. I really don't have time or inclination to do any of that again. So I have got some experience in writing. That's really why I wanted to mention those two books. So let me tell you a little bit about last night. I watched Strictly Come Dancing, which is known as Dancing in the Stars in all other countries, but here it's called Strictly Come Dancing. And in case you're wondering why it's called that, and I can't remember if I've ever mentioned this before, it's called that because of two other programs or films that were out. There was a film called Strictly Ballroom, which was a huge success over here. It's an Australian film. I think it was directed by, I remember his name, the Moulin Rouge director anyway, the Australian, well-known Australian film director, Baz Luhrmann, that's it. So Baz Luhrmann directed it, I think, I'm right in saying. And it was a very successful film here. I think I only saw it once. I quite enjoyed it, but it was successful here. But also, a programme that was running for many, many years since I was a child, probably since the 50s on the TV here, called Come Dancing. So what the makers did was they took the Strictly part of Strictly Ballroom, the film, put it together with Come Dancing, the TV programme, and made Strictly Come Dancing, or Strictly for short as it's known here. And anyway, I watched the final last night and I voted for the winner. In fact, I voted for 2 out of the 3, and the one I voted for the most was the one that won, and her name is, I can't remember off the top of my head, but she's a lovely young actress who used to be in Coronation Street. It's a long-running soap here in the UK. I didn't know her, but I thought she was absolutely wonderful. She was a little ball of fun. She had that sort of elegant arm movement. She knew how to carry herself. She had nice deportment, as we used to call it back in the day. And Ellie, that was her name, Ellie Leach, and I absolutely loved it and so enjoyed watching it, and will miss it lots. I think there is a Christmas special coming up over the Christmas holidays, but I will miss it because it's such a joyous, joyous programme, and I only wish it had been around when my kids were younger, because we used to struggle to find anything to watch on a Saturday night. So really enjoyed that. Oh, we also watched 1 episode of The Crown, so we've now only got 2 left to watch. And actually yesterday's was quite good. It was quite political. It was about, or at least politically focused. It was about Tony Blair's early years in government, so that was quite good, because actually there was a lot I'd forgotten about how he reacted to the Kosovo crisis and how he had to persuade the Americans to join in. So it was really interesting, very, very good. So that's where we are at the moment. So I'm going to go now and have some breakfast, and then look forward to seeing my grandson a bit later, and hopefully take you along to the theatre with me, and then I'll come on a bit later and wrap up the day's vlog. See you in a bit. Hello again. It's nearly 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I got back from taking my grandson to see A Christmas Carol at the Alexandra Palace Theatre, which is the most beautiful, amazing theatre I have ever seen. Actually, it's really quite exceptional. I mean, I think I may have said earlier that I hate the building, and I do hate the outside. It's not my kind of architecture at all. But the theatre's incredible, and I will try and insert some footage I took inside the theatre before the show started. But I don't know whether you can really get a sense of it, because it is huge, and I must check the capacity. I think it must be about 1,000-seater. And the seats are actually just regular kind of like chairs. It's not that sort of red plush seating that you see in the West End theatres. But it's just so atmospheric. It's got that sort of textured wall. I don't know, I suppose it must be brick, but it's really textured. You can't actually make the bricks out at all. And it was so in keeping with the show, and it is mid-19th century. It just goes so well with the production. The production really took advantage of its surroundings with the sets that it used, and it was just so good. And my grandson really enjoyed it, and I did, and yeah, it was a really great show to see, because I usually try to take him to at least 1 show a year at Christmas, and we've seen shows like Aladdin, the musical we saw a few years ago. We saw Back to the Future, the musical, which was fantastic. We saw The Play That Goes Wrong, which is this massive sort of franchise of all sorts of, well, they've got loads of different productions. So there's The Play That Goes Wrong. There's also sorts of other plays that go wrong with different titles and stuff. And that was funny. And that's very sort of farce type comedy, you know, lots of door slamming and sets falling down and all that kind of stuff. But this was very, very good, really true to the story, and really enjoyed it. And yes, another week before Christmas, and just thinking about the extra food that I need to get. I do need to get some crackers, which I haven't got yet. And what else was I going to get? Oh yeah, I was talking to my grandson about what ice cream he wants and that sort of thing. Biscuits. Do you know what he said to me? This was such a blast from the past. He said, "I like Maryland biscuits." Now, those of you in the UK of my sort of vintage will know a Maryland biscuit. They were biscuits with chocolate chips in them, but they were quite small, I seem to remember. Anyway, apparently he's very fond of them, so I'm going to get some for him. And yeah, I'm back to work tomorrow. I'm probably not going to go into the office because I'm still trying to shake off this cold. Oh, and that reminds me, in case you're wondering what's happened to my complexion. My makeup this morning, I don't know what is going on with my skin. I really need to be consistent with my regime at the moment because it's so dry. I've never known it be as dry as this. My only caveat about it being dry is, am I allergic to something? Because I do have seborrheic dermatitis. I can't say it, seborrheic dermatitis. In other words, dandruff usually in my case, or very dry skin on my face. So either I've suddenly become allergic to something, or something I'm using has got fragrance in it, which I don't think is the case. Or it's just that my skin's very dry and I need to wear a moisturiser under my SPF, which I don't normally do. So because my makeup was looking so awful, I just took off all my complexion makeup. I left my eye makeup on, and I thought I'll just go out with SPF and moisturiser on. So honestly, I must say I've really enjoyed doing this vlog, and although I don't seem to get a lot of views when I do them, I have actually enjoyed doing it. Now do let me know about the book or the novel. What do you think? Would you like to have a copy of it? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you've ever written a novel and it's sitting in the back of a drawer somewhere, because the theory is that everyone has a novel in them. It's just a question of whether we write it or not. I'd really be interested. And are there any other writings that you do, any scribblings, do you journal or anything like that? So if I don't speak to you before Christmas, and I probably won't, have a fantastic day. I really hope you enjoy it, and I really hope you have your family close to you and you have a great day. And I will see you on the other side. And before you go, I'd be so grateful if you've watched this video, if you've enjoyed it, to please give me a thumbs up, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel. My growth is very, very slow, and it kind of goes up a couple of notches and then a step back, and then another couple of notches and then a step back. And I'm really, really keen to get more subscribers if I possibly can, because it would mean a huge amount to me, and I'd be really grateful. Oh, and hit the notification bell so that you get notified each time I upload a video. And if you can't get enough of me, and who can, then I have a monthly newsletter, and the link to subscribe to that is also in the description box below. And in that I don't just talk about beauty, fashion and lifestyle, but I also talk about music, books, podcasts, theatre, film and other bits and bobs that make me happy. Oh, and before you go, another thing, I'm going to pop up a couple of videos that you might enjoy watching before you leave, and thank you again so much for watching. It means the absolute world to me, it really does. And I hope you're all doing really well, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video. Bye!